following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Here's what's cooking on the day's Sports Stove podcast. Don't wear white, apparently. We'll talk about that. College football games this weekend. Florida State falling and failing. The NFL picks for week 1 and NASCAR playoff predictions. That's what's cooking on the day's Sports Stove podcast.
From Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Podcast Network, you're listening to the Sports Stove Podcast with your host, Vince Stover.
Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up to me?
Welcome in to an all-new edition of the Sports Stove Podcast presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com and use the promo code STOVE15. You're going to get 15% off your purchase. I'm Vince Stover. I'm joined as I am every week by my dad, Dale Stover. Dad, we are just hours, it seems like, away from the Packers kickoff on Friday. How you feeling this week?
Well, this is great week, that's for sure, with the Packers starting, really with the NFL starting, and college football has started, high school football has started, so we are well into football season. And, we'll talk about the NFL in a little bit, but it's always exciting when it starts. And really for the last many years, it's really exciting because there's so much parity. You really don't know what's going to happen. Of course, the Packers, it looks like we have potential to have a great year. So excited to get that started down in São Paulo.
Sao Paulo. Yeah. We weren't able to get our press credentials to that game in Brazil, but maybe next time. Let's start with college football because most of you may not have heard yet, but EKU and Western Kentucky are playing this weekend at Western Kentucky. This used to be a big rivalry. They haven't played in 7 years against each other on the football field. So this week, Western Kentucky announces they're going to have a whiteout. Ask the fans to wear all white. They show the pictures on their graphics with their team in all white uniforms, white helmets, everything. Next thing you know, scratch that. Western Kentucky not allowed to wear their red or their white uniforms because Eastern Kentucky said no. In the contract that they signed to play, there was not specified which uniform Western Kentucky wanted to wear as the home team. And Eastern was not notified within the rules and construct of the contract in time. And so Eastern gets to pick which uniforms they're going to wear. Western Kentucky posted a whole statement on this. And Eastern decided they wanted to wear white. They're going to wear white jerseys and white pants to this game. And so Western put out a comment. Eastern put out a comment. The fans are having a heyday on social media. And I dare say the rivalry is back just like that between Eastern and Western for this week. And while many of you may not care, it definitely impacts my life and my local hour show a lot. So I'm excited about it. I'm terrified about it at the same time. The way that they have kind of poked and prodded at Western. If Western comes in and just kicks the teeth in on EKU, I think Walt Wells, the head coach, he's done for. So they need to come out and show out on Saturday in Bowling Green. And but it makes the game a whole lot more exciting right now because it really felt like a cordial rivalry up until earlier today when all this came out. And now there's a lot of hatred being spewed on the social media world. So big game coming up on Saturday, Eastern Kentucky at Western Kentucky. And Eastern will be on all white. And we'll see what Western ends up wearing. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be a lot of fun to see for sure. All right, Dad, college football. Let's talk about Florida State real quick. We're going to spend most of our time on the NFL today, but Florida State is 0-2. DJU is now on his third college, and apparently, maybe he's playing at Eastern Kentucky next year. I mean, this kid did not work out at Clemson. He was okay out at Oregon State and not looking good at Florida State right now. I did not see Florida State. I did not think they were going to be a top 10 team. I was a little surprised they were ranked that high in the preseason, but they are no longer a top 25 team. Any thoughts on the early struggles for Florida State?
Well, it seems like often you have somebody in the top 25 that, underachieves, and usually that's after 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, maybe there. Somebody in the top 10 is a little bit different. In Florida State, of course, a lot of tradition. And, when I saw them in the top 10, I thought, well, hey, they've bounced back and, they're kind of up there where they need to be. But, they've gotten beat twice. And, teams in Boston College, really played a good game against them. So I don't know if teams are just up for them and they weren't ready. I don't know if they're just not that good. You would think Florida State has plenty of talent. I don't know. Is it a coaching thing? Is it, I don't know what it is. But at 0-2 in college football, they would have to have an unbelievable rally to have any kind of decent season at this point. And if things keep going downhill, then you're going to have a coaching change, and then things really get thrown apart. So very surprising, but definitely not going well for Florida State.
No, it's not. And definitely, I mean, you would think they need a quarterback change, but maybe the quarterback behind DJ is not any good. So I don't know. We're not there. We don't, and I don't pay close enough attention to Florida State to know much about the team. So I won't pretend like I do, but what a devastating start for Florida State. Next, let's go to other games this week. A couple actually pretty good games lined up for us this weekend. We've got Tennessee State and NC State matching up this Saturday night. Texas and Michigan, a battle of two top 10 teams going on. And then let's see, a couple other Iowa State and Iowa taking off here in week number 2. And then, of course, the ever so vaunted and everyone's tuning in for MTSU at Ole Miss. Dad, let's go to these top games, though. Tennessee and NC State, Texas, Michigan. I think both of those games are going to be really fun to watch this weekend.
They will. They'll be a lot of fun to watch. And of course, being Tennessee fans, Tennessee can really establish herself in this game. It's at NC State, so they're on the road. And I think we'll really see, what kind of team they are there, whether they're dominant or hopefully they'll win the game. So Tennessee, seems to have a lot of talent. Again, I think they have a good coach, and we'll just see if they can go into NC State and handle them, then that's going to set things up well for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Texas, Michigan, Dad, that's two playoff teams right there that we anticipate to be playoff teams. And we know that a loss early in the season never has been that big of a deal. 2 losses is, but not one. What are you expecting to see Texas, Michigan? I mean, did you watch much of Michigan in week 1 to get an idea of how you felt, positively or negatively about them?
No, I didn't really watch them a lot. And this will be interesting to watch because Texas is really supposed to have a good team, and Michigan, Michigan's going to have a good team, but I don't know if they're as high, as good as they're highly ranked. And being in Ohio, then everybody's going to be excited about watching Texas for sure. But again, I think the same way as with Tennessee, if Texas would come out and dominate this game, it's at Michigan. So this is a real test for Texas to go into a place like the Big House and play. And if they can do that, then we'll see. Now their quarterback, if I'm thinking right, he's been there before in the Big House or in that area. Yeah. I don't remember if they played home or away when he was there at Ohio State for a year. But I think that's going to be, a great game to watch, no doubt about it. So
yeah, I think it'll be close too. I don't think it'll be a blowout either way. I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
There. I am actually excited to kind of see Georgia Tech Syracuse, to be honest with you. It's not like I watch a whole lot of ACC football, but Georgia Tech getting that, they're 2-0, getting that big win to start the season. Syracuse has the Ohio State transfer at quarterback. So it's an interesting game, and I'm interested to see. I think we're going to learn something about those teams this week as well. Dad, any other games you're intrigued by in this week 2 lineup?
Well, I'm a little interested in the Kansas-Illinois game. Again, Kansas is ranked. Illinois is not, and not supposed to necessarily have a really good season. And again, this is at Illinois, so it'll be interesting to see if they can play with them or not. So I'll have my eye on that. Again, interesting to see how good Utah is, and they're playing Baylor. So I think that's an interesting game. And Arkansas and Oklahoma State. I really don't know how good Arkansas is. Oklahoma State is supposed to be. So there's definitely more good games, I think, this week than there was last week. So,
yeah, I think so too. For sure. All right, that's enough college football talk because we really want to spend time on the NFL here tonight. Week 1 is upon us. Every year we do a pick 6 competition between me and Dad, and then we have a opportunity for you to get involved as a listener. You can get into the pick'em contest that we're hosting, courtesy of Belly Up Sports. If you go to our Twitter page at Sports Stove, it's pinned to the page there. You can sign up for free, and each week pick games in the NFL, and we'll keep a tally all season long. And we'll give a prize to the winner of $1 million or something else. We haven't decided yet. So be a part of that. So, Dad, every week we're going to pick primetime games, and we're just going to pick them straight up. And then we got to rally it out to 6. So this week we got 4 primetime games. So we'll pick those 4. And then we can pick any 2 random games that we want to. So let's start with the primetime games. Thursday night, kickoff of the NFL season on NBC and Peacock, 8:20 p.m. Eastern time. The Baltimore Ravens travel to the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City is a 3-point favorite in this game. Should be a lot of fun with this game, Dad. How do you see it going down Baltimore and Kansas City?
Yeah, this is a great game to start out with 2 really good teams. And I just kind of going with my gut on this one because I do like Kansas City and I like Andy Reid and Mahomes, and I think Kansas City will have a good team. But I've got a feeling Baltimore is going to start out on the right end of this as far as starting out the season. So I'm going to pick Baltimore on this. I think they'll have a good team this year, and I just got a feeling they may show up. This should be a really close game. I don't think it'll be a blowout either way, and I'm going to pick Baltimore.
All right, I'm going to go opposite way. I'm going to go Kansas City. I think if it's in Baltimore, I would probably lean that way too. I think it's going to be a great game, and we're going to see a lot of fun in this game. But I just think you give Patrick Mahomes the weapons that he has this year compared to what he had last year. They are so much better. Again, at home, tried and true, all that good stuff. I'm going to go Kansas City in this one. I think it will be a competitive game, but I'll go Kansas City in that one. Friday night in Sao Paulo, the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. It's 8:15 kickoff on Peacock. Dad, I have managed my schedule to work so I can get home from basketball practice to watch this. Had to cancel a practice, but that's okay. Who needs practice, right? So let's talk about Green Bay and Philadelphia. I'm a homer. I'm going Packers in this one. I just think we're in for a good season, and I think now's the time to beat the Eagles versus at the end of the season. I like it. So I'm going Green Bay in this one. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorites in this one, though.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. Again, I mean, we're Packer fans, but I do think the Packers were ready to play. I think they're going to be a much improved team even over last year. A lot of interesting things from a Packer standpoint to look at. The biggest thing probably is the defense, the new defensive coordinator. Yeah. And again, a real challenge with Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts and all the weapons they have. So this will really show kind of the defense and what's coming for Green Bay. It's a great opportunity for Green Bay because this is technically a road game, and instead of playing in Philadelphia, they're playing in at least a neutral site. All the Green Bay people think it'll be the crowd will be much more for Green Bay than Philadelphia, but we won't know that until Friday night there. So we will see. But, I think the Packers will come out on top. Again, this could be a very good game because I think it is two very good teams.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see, defensively what the Packers look like for sure. Philadelphia, they've got some movement on the offensive line. They should still be really good up there. But, some new pieces there. They've got some new pieces on defense as well and lost, a veteran presence. So, like I said, I think just now we're fortunate to play them when we are. And I think this is the best chance to beat them here is in week number 1. So, and like you said, in Brazil versus in Philadelphia is definitely a positive thing for the road team in this situation. All right. Sunday night is the Rams and the Lions. Lions got the kickoff game last year against Kansas City. Now they get opening Sunday night, 8:20 kickoff NBC. Detroit, 3.5-point favorites on the Rams. How do you feel about the Sunday night game?
Well, again, it's at Detroit. There's a lot of hype about Detroit, of even being a Super Bowl team there. The Rams are supposed to be good. And again, it may be my prejudice, but I'm going to pick the Rams in this one. I think the Rams will outcoach them, and I think they'll come in ready to play. And, Detroit, again, Detroit's riding high, but again, that can be positive and negative. And again, this should be a good game and should be against two good teams. But I'm going to take the Rams in this one as an upset.
Man, I was hoping you go Detroit. I'm going the Rams also in this one. I feel like I've already made my sentiment known on this, but I think Detroit's the most overrated team coming into this season. And I understand they're talented, and I understand there's a lot of things to like about Detroit, but I still think there's a lot of things that just don't make sense in Detroit. And I think that when it's all has to come to a head at some point, and I think this is the year to do it. I don't think Detroit wins the division. I think Detroit could end up even being possibly third in the division. That would take a drastic fall for sure. I just think they're overrated. I don't think they're bad. I just think they're overrated. I think they come into this game. I think the Rams take advantage of the opportunity. Stafford knows how to play in Detroit, of course. And I like what the Rams have done this offseason as well. So I'm going Rams, and same thing. I guess maybe it's prejudice. I don't know, but I really think the Lions are overrated. Monday night is the 49ers hosting the Jets. This is a fun one, Dad. San Francisco, 4.5-point favorites. Aaron Rodgers back in San Francisco, the place that has given him the biggest chip of any on his shoulder until he left Green Bay. 49ers could have drafted him number 1. I'm not sure if you knew that or not. And so he's coming back to San Francisco. It's his home, all this kind of stuff. And is he healthy? That's the question behind it all. I'm going 49ers in this one. I just think they're the better team. And again, I think the Jets are going to be really good this year as long as Rodgers stays healthy. And I think give them a couple weeks, they're going to look really good. But week 1, it's just not Rodgers' best week. And so I'm going to go with the 49ers in this game. What about you?
Yeah, it's very interesting on this one because Aaron Rodgers, again, hasn't played football since his injury. And so, we will see, just how much he's back in rhythm and everything there. I'll go with San Francisco. Now, San Francisco, have had 2 of their key players, offensive players, that have just signed. So there's been some, up and down and turmoil there a little bit, with those. And I don't know, is everybody ready to play? The offensive lineman as well as, the receiver, Ayuk. But San Francisco's got a great defense. And I think I'm not sure this will be a high scoring game. But I think San Francisco, if they can play defense as they have been, I think they can come out on top on this.
Yeah, I mean, Pearsall gets shot this week, gets robbed and shot. That's not ideal. Brandon Ayuk finally signs his contract. The thing about the 49ers, they've played together. These guys, with the exception of Pearsall, they've played together. So they even with Ayuk not 100%, they still have some mighty good weapons who have been around there as well. And Caleb McChesney makes a great point in the comment section as well. Robert Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett. I'm not sure that we trust those guys over top of Kyle Shanahan, and his staff as well. So coaching goes to the 49ers. Continuity goes to the 49ers. And I think overall talent still goes to the 49ers as well. Rodgers is better than Purdy, but is Rodgers healthy? All that kind of stuff. We'll see. Both of us go 49ers. All right, Dan. Now's the time we get to pick any game we want to. We get 2 games to pick. So give me your first game that you picked here in this pick six.
Well, this may be kind of an easy one, but I'll just go an hour down the interstate here, and I will take the Bengals over the Patriots. Again, the Bengals need, Joe Burrow needs to rebound here. And again, the Bengals have had a little turmoil. Supposedly, the wide receiver, Jamar Chase, will be playing in this one. He did practice today. But the Bengals, I think, are going to be a good team. And again, starting out against New England and starting out at home, I think that's a pretty safe one.
Yeah, I mean, our picks are almost identical this week, Dad, other than Kansas City and Baltimore. I went Cincinnati too because I thought it was an easy game to pick also. I think New England at the end of the year will be playing decent football, but I think they're still going to be in the hunt for the number 1 overall draft pick at the end of the year, whether that's 4 wins or 5 wins or maybe even 6 wins. But Cincinnati, again, they're better all the way around at this point. And I'm excited to see the Patriots in 2 or 3 years when Gerard Mayo has his chance to be what he is as a coach. And they got to get a quarterback in there too. So, I'm not going to go Jacoby Brissett in this one. I thought this one was easy as well. I went Cincinnati also. All right, game number 6. Who's the last game you picked?
I took the Miami-Jacksonville game, and I'll go with the home team, Miami. Again, I think Jacksonville's going to rebound here a little bit this year, but I think Miami could really be one of the dominant teams in the AFC. And being at home, we'll see how they start out. So I'll go with Miami and your favorite quarterback.
Yeah, Tua. He's on my fantasy football team. Obviously, I hate Tua, but that being said, I did not pick this game because this one I think is going to be close. I think the Jaguars are sneaky good this year. As a matter of fact, I think that the Jaguars are the most underrated team going into this year. So I'm actually pretty high on them, but I did not pick them either. So I went with, and by the way, I looked at that game, Dad. Miami's a 3.5-point favorite. They are at home. I probably would have went the other direction on it. I probably would have went Jacksonville. But I did not pick this game in our pick 6 game. I did pick it in our pick 'em though contest that anyone can join. Go to Sports Stove on Twitter and click the link there to join. The game that I picked as my number 6 game is what I thought was another easy one: Chargers and Raiders. Raiders, they're going to be in the contest for that number 1 overall pick. They don't have a quarterback. I don't expect much good to come out of Las Vegas this year. So I went with the Chargers. Again, I know it's a new coach. There's some new players, all that kind of stuff. It just makes a whole lot of sense for the Chargers to win that game. So I went with the Los Angeles Chargers. Your thoughts on Raiders and Chargers?
Actually, on the picks here, I picked Vegas on this one. I think this will be an upset. Again, I think the coach, will have everybody rallied around. I think, Harbaugh to be his first game and everything. I don't think the Chargers are a dominant team in any way, shape, or form. And to me, this is one of those games that this will be a surprise. But I went with the Raiders on this one.
Dad, do you think the Raiders could end up getting the number 1 overall pick this year?
At this stage, it's hard to say who will be the number 1 overall pick.
I understand.
They could be, but the Chargers might be battling for it, so you never know.
There's no way I do know. There's no way in the world, Dad. And just because you hate Jim Harbaugh, and honestly, I don't love Jim Harbaugh, but the dude wins 10 games everywhere he goes. Like, when's the last time he hasn't won 10 games, NFL or college football? It's just not gonna be that way. Now, I'm not saying the Raiders can't win this game. That's why you play the game. But your hatred of Jim Harbaugh amazes me when it comes to how you're picking things this season with the Chargers. But that's fine. That's fine. It's your picks. You're allowed to have your opinion, and that's fine. All right, let's look at the other games.
So you think the Raiders are like Michigan Tech and the people that he beat when he was at Michigan for most of his schedule? Is that right?
I mean, they're not Ohio State.
Okay.
So he beat them. So I'm just saying the Raiders are in the battle for the number 1 overall pick. The Giants, the Patriots, the Panthers, like those are the teams that are at the bottom of the pile. And there's no way the Chargers are worse than the Raiders on the season. Now, again, could they lose on Sunday? Sure. That's fine. I can give you that. But you think that the Chargers are a 7 or 8 win team, and that's just not what history has shown us. And I think that you're allowing your dislike for a person to come in to affect your picks. That's my opinion, and that's perfectly fine. You're allowed to pick it however you want to pick it, and if you're right, I'll admit it. I'm fine with that as well. So it is what it is, but my goodness, I cannot imagine. I'm hoping the Raiders run the ball like crazy because I picked Zamir White as my running back in 2 leagues. So I'm hoping they get to run the football plenty for the Raiders. All right, let's look at the rest of the games then. Sunday, Cardinals at Bills. Bills 6.5-point favorites. I like both of these teams. I think the Cardinals are going to be much improved this year. And the Bills, they lost a lot of important pieces this year. Bills at home are hard to pick against. I think this could be a really fun game to watch. And tell us a lot about both teams, even in week 1 this week. How do you feel about Buffalo and Arizona?
Yeah, I'll go with the Bills at home. Again, I hope Arizona's improved, and I think in some ways they will be. But I think, this has got to be a year Buffalo plays well, and I think they'll come out and start well at home. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's potentially a high-scoring game. The total's at 48.5. This, to me, could be one of those games where, maybe Buffalo's up by a couple touchdowns and then Carolina or Arizona scores towards the end or something like that. But I think it's going to be an offensive game versus a defensive game in week number 1. And usually week 1's a little sloppy. So we'll see how that one shakes out. We talked Bengals Patriots already. Giants Vikings. That I wanted to pick this game so bad, but I don't know which team is worse. And so I didn't pick it. Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson, and the Vikings going to New York, the New York Football Giants, with Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors. Man, I don't know where to go with this one. Minnesota's the favorite. I'm kind of trusting in Dayball a little bit this year, and I think the Giants might be better than most people think. And I think the Giants need to be bad. I think they need to be a top draft pick. I'm not sure that Dayball's going to let them get there. And the Vikings, there's so many unknowns right now. Can Sam Darnold do it is the question. So I lean Giants since they're at home on this one, but how do you feel about Giants Vikings?
Yeah, I think both these are below average teams, but I would go with the Giants because they're at home. So, and
Okay.
we'll see how Minnesota does.
Yeah, we'll see. Bears and Titans, battle of young quarterbacks. The Bears are the more talented team, and they're at home. They're 4 points favorites. I think the Bears win this one. The Titans offseason, outside of the coaching hire and the wide receiver situation, there's nothing else to like in Tennessee right now. So I'm going Bears in this one in week 1.
Yeah, being at home, I'll go with the Bears on this one. I'll be real interesting to watch this. If the Bears would lose this one to the Titans, this would really be hilarious in a whole lot of ways. But I don't think if Chicago is half as good as their fans think they are, then they shouldn't have any trouble with the Titans at home. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. I would love for the Bears to lose. I just don't think it's going to happen. All right, Saints and Panthers. Dennis Allen for the Saints will be the first head coach fired this season. But I think he can beat the Panthers. Although, again, I think the Panthers are going to be improved this year. I think the Saints get this win. They're 4-point favorites. I think it's a lot closer than it should be. Maybe even a field goal win here for the Saints, but I will go with the Saints.
Yeah, I'll go with the Saints at home, but I think you're probably right about the first coach fired. So,
Steelers Falcons. Falcons are a massively improved team just by improving the quarterback situation. They're 3.5-point favorites at home. They're playing the Steelers. Russell Wilson has to prove something to me. Until he does, I'll pick the Falcons. But I think this game could be crazy close as well, honestly.
Yeah, I think this one could be close, and I'm all for the Falcons being improved, and I think they will be. But I got a feeling the Steelers are going to win this one. Again, I think it'll be a close game. So I would pick the Steelers in this one, but I didn't feel comfortable enough to make them my pick. So
yeah. Texans Colts, best game on Sunday. I think that we have CJ Stroud versus Anthony Richardson, young teams. Stephon Diggs in Houston now. How does he look? I love both of these teams, Dad. Houston is the road favorite, 3-point favorite. I think Houston's the better team. I'm going to go with Houston in this one, but this is seriously the game I want to watch on Sunday. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I like both teams. I agree with you on this one, and this should be a very close game. But I think Houston, building off last year and adding the people they've added, I would pick Houston on this too. But this could go either way, and this should be a great football game.
From the most interesting game to what I think is the least interesting game of the weekend, the Broncos travel to Seattle. There is a little bit of curiosity here with Bo Nix and Sean Payton and what they'll do in Denver. But again, I think it's another team at the bottom of the heap. And the Seahawks, I think they're just a middle of the road team this year. Sorry, Kevin. 6-point favorites, though, for Seattle. I think Denver's going to be better than people think, but I don't think that's going to result in wins necessarily at the same time. So I'll go Seattle here, and I'm expecting a big season for Jackson Smith and Jigba in Seattle as well. The Broncos, until they show me something, I'm not going to be able to pick them.
Yeah, well, I'll go with Seattle at home. I think they're the better team on this one. So we will, we'll go with them, and we'll see how Denver does, see how Bo Nix does. But interested to watch him a little bit, but I would pick Seattle.
Okay. Dallas travels to Cleveland. Cleveland is a 2.5-point favorite in this one. Again, they are at home. Listen, Dallas, I didn't like their offseason either. Not impressed with what they did. And I have predicted already, I think that we're going to see Deion Sanders coaching Dallas next year. We're going to see his son at quarterback next year. And we'll see Dak somewhere else, maybe in Cleveland. But Cleveland this is a team that has the talent. Can they put it all together at the right time? Week 1 scares me for Cleveland. I'm going to go Dallas in this game, but this one should be a close one, and it should be a fairly entertaining game as well. Myles Garrett's phenomenal on the defensive side as well. So, but the reports coming out, Dad, that Cleveland tried to trade a second, a third, and their top receiver to get Brandon Ayuk in the offseason. Probably is not going to sit well with Amari Cooper. So, I think there's going to be some stress there on Sunday. I'm going to go Dallas over Cleveland.
I will pick Cleveland partially because they're at home. This is not just because I'm picking against Dallas. I think Cleveland's going to be a very good team. I think they will. Again, I think they're solid. They got a good defense. They've got, they've got good skill players. And again, being at home, we'll see what Dallas, has. Is Ezekiel Elliott going to be the answer? How's Dak Prescott going to, you go basically, you hear they've got a quarterback and a coach that's both kind of lame duck. And right. So Cleveland's going to be fired up, ready to go. And not only would start out with a win, but a win over Dallas would really propel them. So I'll go with Cleveland.
Okay. The battle of the best quarterbacks in the league happens on Sunday at 4:25. Washington Commanders and the rookie quarterback, as well as Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. It's at Tampa. I'm being a little facetious, by the way, in case people couldn't pick that up. But I'm excited about this one. I like both of these quarterbacks, and I think both of these teams are middle of the road NFL teams for this season. And this could be a really interesting game again to learn about both of these teams and what they're going to look like this year. Tampa is at home, 3.5-point favorites. Dad, I'm going to go Commanders in this one because as much as I like Baker, I really like the Commanders offseason. So I'm going to go fast start here, put the Commanders on top.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch the Commanders this year and Jaden Daniels. I think that'll be really interesting. I think they're going to develop into a pretty good team, competitive as the year goes on. This will be a hard one to pick, but I probably will go with the home team and go with Tampa on this one because they are at home. And I think Washington will be good, and I'd be all excited if Daniels got his first win. So.
Yeah, it's just, to me, it's a super intriguing team. So I think that if they can run the ball effectively, whether that's with Daniels or with the running backs, it's going to go a long way for this team. I love Terry McLaurin. He's one of my favorite receivers in the NFL. That's not a Packer. And I'm impressed by what they did. I love the coaching staff there. And again, I'm a Baker guy. I've always backed Baker, but I think his surrounding staff and support is going the wrong direction. And I think they're still good, but I think they need some more young guys out there as far as weapons goes too. So intrigued to see how that one shakes out. I think it's going to be fun for sure. Okay, I mentioned overrated and underrated teams, Dad, and I mentioned that as Detroit being the overrated team, Jacksonville being the underrated team. Do you have an overrated team and an underrated team coming into this season?
Let me have to look at that real quick. I hadn't really thought about that. So
while you're thinking about that, I want to remind people about Righteous Felon Jerky. Phenomenal stuff, great jerky, great texture, great flavor, and they've been a very helpful sponsor for our program. RighteousFelon.com is where you go to find your favorite flavor. And if you use the promo code STOVE15, you're going to get 15% off your purchase, each and every purchase that you do. And if you use that code, it also lets them know that you heard about them on our program. So make sure you join the flavor revolution. RighteousFelon.com. Code is STOVE15. All right, Dad. The Righteous Felon Jerky is underrated, always underrated. So give me your team that is overrated and your team that is underrated coming into this.
Honestly, when I look at them, I have to agree with you on that. I think it'd be Detroit. As far as being overrated, people saying they'll be in the Super Bowl or whatever. I think they're still going to be a good team. But I don't think they will meet those expectations. As far as underrated is concerned, there's a lot to look at. And again, this team is labeled as a playoff team, but I think the team that may get to be a lot more dominant than people think would be Houston. I think Houston's going to do very well. And again, hard to say they're underrated in some ways, but they could end up being one of the dominant teams in the AFC. Could be.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in that AFC North and that AFC South are both really fun divisions. And I think the South division is going to be outside of the Titans. I just think that division's tough. I think Houston, Indianapolis, and Jacksonville are very even teams this year. And are going to produce a lot of fun things going on. And then, of course, in the North, we've talked about it already. Cleveland, Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh all should be competitive. So Pittsburgh's at the bottom of that pile. But if Russell Wilson plays like the old Russell Wilson, all of a sudden Pittsburgh's a thing. So we'll see. We'll see about that. Coaching hot seats, I think New Orleans is it. I already mentioned that. That's the big one for sure. Tomlin, you would think Tomlin's safe, but if he doesn't find success with Russell or with Fields, does he get on the hot seat? The Bears coach, if he doesn't succeed early on with these guys, he'll be on the hot seat. But I think they'll give him at least another year. But Buffalo and New York are the other two teams to look for hot seat coaches. If Buffalo struggles this year, even though they've slaughtered his roster, my goodness. And then the Giants, are they going to give him a shot with a real quarterback or not will be the question there as well. Dad, any other thoughts on the NFL Week 1 spotlight?
No, should be a lot of good games. There's a lot of storylines to watch in there. And as usual, I think it'll be 2 or 3 weeks before things kind of shape up in certain ways. But definitely a lot of good games to watch this week. And again, like I said, is sorry you didn't get those press credentials when we're in Brazil right now, but hey, go Pack, go.
What are you eating Friday night? You got a menu planned out yet?
Yes. I want to bring good luck. So we have bratwurst and nachos on the menu there. So
nice. I'm trying to think if I leave here. No, I do have some basketball practice before. Otherwise I'd drive up, but, we'll have to watch in spirit together for that game. So, all right, football season is here. NFL season is here. And obviously you need some Righteous Felon jerky to enjoy the football games. So go to righteousfelon.com and use code STOVE15 to get your jerky. All right, Dad, as always, we appreciate you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Okay.
All right, good deal. Thanks.
All right, that's Dale Stover joining us there. We're going to take a well, no, we're not going to take a break. Actually, we're just going to introduce a segment that we've done most of the year at the very least. It's called the Sports Stove Final Lap. All right, and joining us this week is the Belly Up head of racing, Chris Prince. Also, for what it's worth, Chris is an editor for Belly Up Sports, and he edits a lot of my articles that I write. So, Chris, I don't know that I've ever said thank you in person to you. So thank you for all the help that you do with that.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. It's something I enjoy doing. It, gives me just a little bit of added responsibility here and there, and I like to help out whenever I can. So,
all right, so let's get things started with Chase Briscoe. Everybody, we talked about Daytona. You were going to have a new winner at Daytona. Everyone knew we were going to have a new winner at Daytona. We were surprised. Caleb was correct. It was Harrison Burton, and I immediately, by the way, on Twitter went out and shouted him out for that. Then we come into Talladega, and we were not expecting this. We knew it was possible, but not expecting it. You get down to the end of that race. What were your thoughts in those final laps? What did you think was going to happen there at the end?
yeah, I thought for a second, honestly, I thought you were going to see a Kyle Busch kind of win, pull it out, like Cinderella story almost, make it into the playoffs because his car looked really good. It looked really good. And then Chase just kind of pulled away and it kind of just stretched back out. And it was almost kind of like reminiscent of the stink, fest that Kyle Larson put on for most of the race after that. But once the tires kind of wore off and, balanced out more so, I guess they had the short run speed, I guess maybe more so would be a better way to put it. I was surprised. I didn't see him, Chase Briscoe of all, just SHR has been inconsistent at best.
Yeah.
So I was definitely surprised. I wasn't expecting that, especially too after Larson had put on, the show he'd put on.
Were you, when I looked at it, I said, okay, Briscoe at the very least, he was relatively in contention throughout the season. I mean, points wise, we knew in the last several weeks that he was going to have to win to get in, but he wasn't like Harrison Burton at the very least, where we're like, wow, where did this come from? And Briscoe's going to get a pretty cool opportunity next year as well. And you see him, I feel like he's a little bit more proven, I guess, than maybe the Burtons of the world at the very least.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. I think it's just been inconsistency, more or less. I was listening to the teardown, and I think they kind of said it best. Sometimes you look at Chase Briscoe and you're like, oh, that's definitely the organization issue, or maybe whatever's going on there with the SHR, and then you'll see him maybe overdrive or overstep, and you're like, that was a little questionable too. But I definitely think he's got a little more promise, and definitely is probably he has a better chance, at least in my opinion, than Harrison Burton of making it out of the round of 16. But I don't know that he does that either.
When Truex crashed out early in the race, how much in danger did you think he was of not making the playoffs?
Definitely. That depended on how at first and immediately danger. Yeah, I thought he was definitely out. I was like, that's not good. Like, he needs to be at least in contention. And he didn't even make it to do that. So, and then he took out Ryan Blaney with him too. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely didn't see him making it because I just felt like a new winner was going to happen, or at least it was going to be bad more so than anything for him at that point.
Yeah.
But he did. He pulled it out somehow, some way.
He's there, and not a lot of expectation on him right now compared to last season when he was the regular season champ and all that kind of stuff. Looking at this playoff, of course, Buescher and Wallace and Chastain were the guys that did not make it in. Gibbs and Truex, the two that did make it in on points. Everyone else won. When you look at these guys and these, you got the two guys with points, Gibbs and Truex, and then you've got these guys like Burton, Briscoe, Suarez, Cindric. round of 16, you're not going to lose all those guys. So let's start with that side of things. Who do you think are the guys that we're going to lose out of this first round of 16?
Yeah, me and Caleb actually coincidentally were talking about this earlier this week, and I'm working on something I'm putting out. But I think that this is pretty simple. I don't like, just because of the tracks that are in this first round, I just don't think it makes sense for Daniel Suarez to get out of this round. He could shock some in Atlanta. Don't get me wrong. He's got a really good average finish there. That would be the one place that it wouldn't surprise me if he won, but I don't like him at Watkins Glen, and I don't like him at Bristol. So I don't think he makes it out. Obviously, I don't think Harrison makes it out, just because they haven't really had the speed or performance to show me otherwise, other than the win at Daytona. Again, Atlanta could happen, but anything can happen at Atlanta. We saw anything happen at Daytona. Then I don't like Cindric unless he comes into Watkins Glen.
Okay.
That could be the one where he could shock some people. But that, I think Watkins Glen is going to be more of a, if anybody shocks somebody, it might be a Truex or a Gibbs, because of the road course and how good I think Truex is really good there. He's always been historically good there. But I also don't see Chase Briscoe making it out of this round, as much as I'd like to, just for the story purposes of it. The Cinderella story type stuff, I don't, because of the lack of speed at the short track Bristol. I think it's going to come down to that. I think, again, Atlanta is anybody's best shot, if you can avoid calamity, as they call it. Yeah. And Watkins Glen, there's maybe 7-8 drivers tops you could pull from that I think could show you and be in victory lane.
I think Truex is the guy that could be the biggest disappointment in this round. To me, just the Toyota, first of all, has had its issues here at the end. Truex has definitely had his issues here at the end, and I feel for him. He's a well-respected driver, and obviously he's a very good driver. Right. Just things are not going his way right now. Now, could it turn? As you look at last year, things went his way regular season, and then right at the end of the regular season in the playoffs, it turned for him. It didn't go well. So maybe this year it's the opposite. Maybe all of a sudden he's gonna light everything on fire and be good. I think that Burton is an easy out. I agree with you on Suarez, Briscoe, and Cindric. Honestly, I agree with those four. But I think that Truex might be the guy that, just the way that he's been running as of late and the Toyota issues, he's the one that kind of scares me a little bit as a guy that could get bumped here in round one and allow one of those other guys to get through. I think you might see a run for Briscoe here. Honestly, you think about Ford the last 2 years. Yeah, this is when they come to life.
Turn it on. Yeah.
So I still don't trust Burton, but
that would be an interesting story for sure. That would bring a lot of people eyes to the sport. I'm not against it, but at the same time, also it's far fetched. But again, you got Atlanta, and that's possible, I think. But also agree with you, Truex could be a shocking disappointment here, because the issues Toyota's had is motor issues, and Daytona, you're basically going to hold it wide open, even though it's restricted. Yeah, that motor is going to be under a lot of pressure and stress. And then Watkins Glen, you got the up and down, and the shifting up and down, the RPM difference. So that could come into play too. So I could see that, or Gibbs even being a shocking disappointment. He could just come out and fail miserably.
Of the top 9 guys, and we're going to throw Alex Bowman in there too, because he's a Hendrick driver. Who do you think of those guys is the first one to bow out? So I'm talking Larson, Bell, Reddick, Byron, Blaney, Hamlin, Elliott, Keselowski, Logano, and then we'll throw Bowman in there too.
So I've got, I think believe it or not, just shockingly, Logano and Keselowski are going to go out in the same round.
Oh, wow. Okay. You think round of 12, or when do you think they're going out?
Yeah, I think they're going out round of 12. Because of just something just tells me they're both not going to make it. Like, I just don't see Ford making it this year. Like, they could. They have turned it on in years past. And if any of the Fords do, I don't think it's going to be those two. I think it's going to be Blaney. Logano's been inconsistent at best. Keselowski's been hot, and he's been performing better. but I just don't feel like it's going to last the rest of the playoffs. There's too many better performers coming, and that I think that lack of solid performance is going to kill his motivation or kill his fire, his momentum, I guess I should say, to where he's going to run out in the round of 12. So I think they're both going out then. Those are the two.
I think Logano and Bowman are the two I kind of got my eye on as far as that top group, what I would consider to be the top group. Just their performances, they've been in the top fives, but not as much as the other guys. They've not won the stage wins and things like that as well. So those are the two I'm kind of watching on. Then let's go to the top four. Then all season long, I've been like Larson and Hamlin, they're locks. And now I'm sitting there going, I don't know that Hamlin is a lock. Again, with just some of the issues that they've been having, and maybe they've been toying with things just to play with some things for the playoffs, and they'll bring it back up now. But man, I'm sitting here looking at Hamlin thinking it looked like he was a good chance to win the championship this year. And now he's starting to look like, maybe he drops out a little early.
Yeah, I don't actually. I don't have him making it to my Final Four either. So I can agree with you on that, and that again is going to come down to what I've seen lately. I just think he might win his way into the Final Four because there is that chance. It's Denny Hamlin again. But I just like the performances I've seen from others, and I think you might even see a surprise streak from someone like Willie B. I think William Byron potentially could be getting ready to turn it around. Yeah. He's due. He got hot quick after winning the Daytona 500, and then he fell off after Martinsville. He's not had a win since that big 40th anniversary win at Martinsville for Hendrick. Yeah. He's due for one, so I think that could be a shock there. That's my wild card pick, I guess. I'm leaning on, and I had to eliminate Hamlin to throw that wild card in there because I just think Bell, Reddick, and Larson are going to be too strong later in the playoffs.
So I just can't pick a top four without putting a Ford in, just based off the last 2 years. Yeah. I don't know that it's Blaney this year. I like him as much or better than any of the other Ford drivers. So I'm going to go with Keselowski as the Ford driver that makes it. I'm just so impressed with him, honestly. Yeah. And so I'm going to go Keselowski in. I think Larson is in, and I think Reddick is in. Then for me, it comes down to Bell, Byron, and Elliott. And kind of, I like the tracks as a whole for Elliott. I feel like he's got that well-rounded, just different things that he can do. Bell at the beginning of the year, I picked Bell as the champion. So I'm going to put him in my 4 because I feel like I just have to. But then that means that I only got one Hendrick driver, and that feels weird too. So yeah, I just run out of spots. So I'm going to go Larson, Bell, Reddick, and Keselowski. But I mean, again, who knows? Hamlin could find it. Elliott could find it. Byron could find it. Blaney could find it. I mean, that's why we race the race, is to see who gets in at the end of the day. But I can't imagine Kyle Larson not being there, and Tyler Reddick with the years that they've had, especially for sure. And again, since I picked Bell at the beginning of the year, I feel like I got to stick with him because he is there. I mean, he's there. So that's the way that I go as well. You said Byron as your dark horse. Keselowski would be mine. And Byron is this man that he's so good at what he does. He's probably a top 3 driver talent wise right now. I would be my guess. And he's in a top tier car with a top tier team, all that kind of stuff. But for whatever reason, he has had those issues. So if he turns it on here in the playoffs, he could very quickly become a favorite very, very soon as well. Talk about that talent pool at the top, because there are guys, Caleb put here in the comment, I'll pull it up even, about Kyle Busch. He's beaten the washed up allegations. Let's talk about the talent though, and who you would say who's the top 3 talented drivers, because that's different than rankings and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Who do you think's the top 3 talented drivers right now in NASCAR?
I think you have to put Kyle Larson, and I know a lot of race fans know about the Max Verstappen, Kyle Larson media back and forth we've gotten in recent weeks, but I think Kyle Larson's top, he's one of the top drivers in the world. Kevin Harvick, I think, said it best. You give Kyle Larson, a couple days, a couple practice sessions in Max's car, and I think he can go out and do it as good as Max, if not better, maybe. But it's going to be very difficult for Max to come in and do what Kyle does in the car. But that's just because of Kyle's driving ability. So I think Kyle's top tier there. And then I would probably put Reddick behind him. I like Reddick from what I've seen. Reddick's I've been a fan of Reddick though since he was at Junior Motorsports and won his first championship. I like that. I did an article way back when. You can check out the link on my personal Twitter. If you can go and find it, I'll have to actually post it, where I was a big fan of him. I just like his driving skill. I like his personality. I've always liked what, Tyler brought to the table. So I think big things are coming, and I think that's proof with why Denny Hamlin went out and did what he did to get him. And even maybe some could say conspiracy-wise got him a year earlier because of what he did. And it's going to pay off for him. But then that last spot's really – that one's a toss-up because you could throw a lot of people in there. You could throw in a Hamlin. You could throw in a Bell. I think, top 5 would be easier for me because the top 3 is definitely harder, narrowing it down. But Hamlin's been consistent for so long.
Yeah.
Again, he's not had that lull. Like, yeah, he might have had a season or two where he had an early exit from the playoffs, but he's been there. He's done it, and he's just been this close so many times. He's been that bridesmaid as a driver. So I think right now he would be in that top 3 for me.
All right, let's talk about Atlanta real quick. Atlanta's up now, and one of the best finishes of the season for sure, and one of the top finishes, probably not necessarily best races, but one of the top finishes in a top 10 finish for sure. What do you think about Atlanta this week, and not necessarily just the playoffs, but what we can expect from Atlanta this week?
Anything and everything is the answer I want to say. I don't know that a playoff driver might win. That might be your upset here. Maybe a playoff driver doesn't win. It's a non-playoff driver win. Or if you're looking for a more obvious pick, keep an eye on maybe, say, Chase Elliott or Alex Bowman to be like an upset, because I don't think anybody really wants to pick a favorite at a track like this.
Yeah.
But those two could be an upset pick. They have the speed and the experience, and they're not bad on this type of, racing style. So I could see that happening. But again, also I could very easily say that a non-playoff driver wins.
I think we're going to see a phenomenal performance by the guys that just missed the playoffs.
Yep.
I think we're going to see those guys, Chastain, Buescher, being right there at the end, Kyle Busch. Those kind of guys. I think one of those guys is going to win this race, and then there will be obviously a splattering of playoff guys there in the top, but that's my prediction, is one of those few guys that just missed the playoffs. Not named Bubba Wallace. I don't think he wins. I go Chastain, Buescher, and Busch.
What about a Corey LaJoie pulling a Harrison Burton type move in the playoffs, upsetting the playoffs? That's the type of racing though, and that's what they made with the reconfiguration of Atlanta. And I'm okay with it. I'm going to watch it. My guy's probably not going to be where I want him to be, but again, at the end of the day, anything can happen. So that's why I watch it. Yeah,
Corey LaJoie, man, these last couple of weeks for him, since he got the news that he was getting fired, I felt like he kind of went into a dark place for a little bit. I think he's starting to emerge into this. You know what do I care? I can do whatever I want here in these next 16 races. And what are they going to do? Fire me? So we might see some interesting Corey LaJoie moments here in the next couple of races for sure.
Yeah, crew chief making an interesting call because he's out too. So it easily could happen. It easily could happen. It's Atlanta on high banks drafting style racing, and it's carnage normally happens at least once or twice. So
Oh man. Well, it's going to be fun. Playoffs start. And what we're going to do is we're going to revisit at the end of each stage. We'll revisit and talk more about what's going on and the stages to come. And I've appreciated your help and Caleb's help all season long, talking NASCAR as well. And we still got 16 weeks to go. So it's going to be a fun time the rest of the way. Tell everybody what you got going on this week, content wise, to be looking out for.
Yeah, I've been laughing it up, so I've been lacking on my power rankings. I've got to do a catch-up piece on that this week, and then me and Caleb should have some picks. I think we're going to do another wild card pick instead of a fade this week, just because Atlanta. That worked out kind of well for Caleb. He got to lean on Harrison, and it worked out too, which was cool. So we're going to do that. That'll be out on the Belly Up Sports and on our personal pages as well. But that's about it right now. And then I've got some playoff content I'm working on as well with Caleb, is kind of highlighting our picks and stuff too going forward.
I was going to try to put out a playoff piece for NASCAR, and then my schedule just got swamped, and I was like, never mind. I'm sure Chris and Caleb will get there. So,
yeah, I got it. I'm going to try to get something out this week. I'm hoping to anyway.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for your editing help and getting those articles published for me on bellyupsports.com. You can catch Chris, of course, there. He's got his Twitter account as well, the X account. Everything. No, NASCAR for everyone.
NASCAR for everyone. Yep. Yeah. Basic kind of handle there, I guess.
Yeah. Easy to find for sure. But we appreciate it, Chris. Have fun with the NASCAR playoffs. Have fun with the NFL season starting up as well. And of course your family too. So we got to find time for them too. So thanks, Chris. We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, have a good one.
Thanks. That's Chris Prince, Belly Up Sports NASCAR head. Appreciate him, and Caleb McChesney, who helped us out all season long. And again, we'll chat with them as we come through the playoffs in NASCAR as well. Listen, we got a packed full weekend of sports. Tomorrow's the NFL's kicks off Thursday night. Then we got the Packers Friday night. I know everybody's pumped about that. Then we've got EKU and Western Kentucky fighting about which uniforms they're wearing Saturday, and then more NFL all day Sunday, as well as some NASCAR getting things going as well at 3:06 p.m. Eastern time in Atlanta on the 8th. So stick around for sure, and we'll be with it all the rest of the NASCAR playoffs. Follow us on Twitter at Sports Stove, and on Instagram at Sports Stove as well. Visit Righteous Felon Jerky at righteousfelon.com and use the promo code STOVE15 at checkout. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, we'll be live 8 o'clock, right before the kickoff of the Kansas City game. But we're talking EKU football. So the Sports Stove local hours live Thursday night, 8 o'clock. We're talking, we got lots to talk about. So we'll be talking that there. Hope that you'll join us. Sunday night, 8 o'clock, it'll be the Sports Stove Fantasy Baseball Show. And me and Kevin are actually no show this Sunday night. We'll take the week off as we're in the middle of the playoffs. We'll be back in a week from Sunday about there. So stay with it. We appreciate you tuning in tonight. Thanks to Chris and Dad for jumping on tonight as well. Until next time, we'll see you around the Sports Stove.